A stunt saber may refer to a custom saber that lights up but does not make sound, or it could also refer to a screen-used lightsaber stunt prop that was used during the filming of one of the Star Wars movies. So let's take a bit of a closer look at each of these types of stunt sabers. Now, first of all, a stunt saber as a custom saber without sound. Let's take a look at that first. So a stunt saber in this context is generally configured with a single color in-hilt LED using a very simple wiring setup to connect the battery, the activation switch, and the LED. That's kind of it in a nutshell. So here's an example. This is a stunt saber from Old Sabers, and we can kind of see the LED at the top within this emitter area. And then here's the activation switch. That's how I turn the lightsaber on and off. Very simple. And then at the bottom, if I unscrew this pommel, I can access the battery pack, and you can see the wiring a little bit there, but you see very basic. And stunt sabers can vary a little bit, you know, the different kinds of switches that can vary, the battery configuration can vary a bit, but for the most part, you know, this is a somewhat common example of a stunt saber. Now, there are some stunt sabers out there that will be a little bit fancier, so you can have visual effects on stunt sabers, and you can have RGB stunt sabers, you know, where you can switch through the different colors. These are not nearly as common, and in order to have this type of lightsaber, you would need to use, you know, like a circuit board, a controller, to kind of control those different features on the lightsaber. So that takes some of the simplicity out of it, and I think that's why some people just kind of end up, you know, doing a sound saber or getting a sound saber if they're going to have a lightsaber that has a board in it like that. But those are available, they are out there, but they're not nearly as common as these kind of single color lightsabers. You'll commonly see those as stunt sabers. So sometimes people kind of jokingly or disparagingly refer to a stunt saber as a flashlight or a flashlight lightsaber, and that's really, you know, due to the fact that it does, you know, they can somewhat resemble a flashlight lightsaber, you know, because you're basically, you know, turning them on and off with a switch like that. So that's something that some people will say. And it's sort of a fair point, you know, stunt sabers don't have sound, and the sound can be one of those kind of, you know, it is one of the signature parts of a lightsaber, right? You know, when you hear that lightsaber hum, you know exactly what it is right away. And so there are quite a few people out there that want to have the sound with their lightsaber for that reason, because they think it's really part of the entire personality of the lightsaber. But, you know, at the same time, stunt sabers definitely have their own benefits as well. So for one, stunt sabers are generally less expensive than sound sabers, and, you know, that's because they don't require you know, a soundboard generally, and they're just a lot simpler, you know, to install with electronics. And a lot of stunt sabers can be a bit simpler in design as well, although, you know, it really depends on what you're getting. But that's definitely some of the appealing, you know, qualities of a stunt saber. Just it can be a more affordable price, it can be a bit of a simpler design, and stunt sabers can also be kind of a nice beater saber, you know, a lightsaber that you can use for some dueling and, you know, not worry about it too much, you know, because you didn't maybe pay as much for it. So those are all some nice features of stunt sabers. Although, you know, the quality of stunt sabers can vary a lot. Although for the most part, most stunt sabers, at least in theory, should be able to handle light to medium dueling. Some stunt sabers could handle heavier dueling as well. So it does kind of depend on the brand and even the specific saber as well. So that's basically the kind of stunt saber as a custom lightsaber without sound. Now, how about a stunt saber as a screen-used prop? So a stunt saber, or sometimes it's simply called a stunt, it can refer to a specialized screen-used lightsaber prop in one of the Star Wars movies, and it's designed for action sequences generally. So a stunt saber will often lack the decorative details of a hero lightsaber. So the hero lightsaber is kind of the really flashy, really kind of decorated lightsaber that you'll see in maybe close-up shots in the film and that type of thing. So stunt sabers you'll see maybe just for a brief moment on the screen, and it might be from farther away as well, so they generally lack some of the details of the hero saber. Now, some stunt saber hilts can be made from metal, depending on their function, but other stunt sabers, they can be made from rubber, wood, or resin, and this is in order to make the prop a bit safer for the actors and the stunt performers and the crew, and it can also help preserve the condition of like the set and the prop itself. So those would be some reasons for those other materials. Now, a stunt saber prop, it also may be tailored to a specific scene, so they could use a stunt saber in multiple scenes. You know, like you could have a certain dueling lightsaber that you would use in different scenes in the film, but you could also have a stunt saber that's designed for a very specific purpose. So one example of this is one of the stunt saber props of the Skywalker lightsaber. It was rigged specifically for the scene when Luke Skywalker loses his hand and the Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, they kind of created it with that scene in mind. So anyway, this has just been kind of a look at the stunt saber. So the two main definitions are it's a custom saber, so an unlicensed, a custom saber that doesn't have sound, or it could be a screen-used stunt prop in one of the Star Wars movies. So feel free to comment below.